Happy Tuesday, Flosstube. Hello, crafty friends. How's everybody doing today? My name's Caroline. Welcome back, Daily Crafty Chat. And today, I'm just going to quickly show what I've been working on since I chatted with you yesterday and shared my big finishes. Thank you for all of the really kind comments on yesterday's video. And thanks to the commenters, Nancy, for letting me know that the video quality was a little bit fuzzy. Yeah, that was my fault because I uploaded it in standard definition instead of high definition because I forgot to check that I was exporting it in the right thing. So anyways, I'll try again today. Okay, so I have decided that for the next couple of days at least, my morning coffee stitch is going to be working on Ink Circle's Damask Square. And so here's the cover photo. Beautiful, beautiful linen and sort of ecru combination. And I decided to go completely opposite, and mine is a really beautiful bright blue. And so I took a photo of it this morning and shared on Instagram. So I'm just going to pop that photo in right here because it gives a pretty clear view of my stitching so far. So I'll put that in right here. So that's what I was working on a little bit last night, as well as my mystery crafting that I'm working on that I shared with you yesterday. I worked on that a little bit last night as well. And then this morning, what I like to do is I like to make my coffee and then I come back to bed. I love stitching in bed. And I bring my coffee upstairs. I climb back into bed with my stitching. I set my timer on my watch for 30 minutes and I just stitch for 30 minutes. It's just such a great way to start my day. It puts me in a good mood. I'm happy that I've gotten 30 minutes of stitching in for the day. So any day that I can squeeze that in is always a good day. So today started off well. So I'm going to get right into the funny stories. This is part 2 of the funny crafting story contest. And I've got a few emails to read here for you today. So I hope that you've got a cup of coffee or a glass of water and you're stitching or you're knitting. And I hope you enjoy. There's some pretty funny stories here. Okay, so the first one I'm going to start with today comes from Dory. And Dory sent me the following email. 13 years ago, I was unemployed. Mondays through Friday, I watched my granddaughter, but on Saturdays, I hung out and helped out at my girlfriend's quilt shop. It was amazing how many friends would come in to do the sit and stitch every Saturday. After a while, they asked when I would start quilting. No way, I said, I'm not joining this cult. No way are you sucking me in, I would say. We all know what's coming next, Dory. Needless to say, 13 years later, I have made quilts for all of my grandchildren, my son, my nieces, and nephews. There are 3 quilts in the works, several kitted up. I have room just for my crafting, both quilting and needle arts. This is my happy place. I've been on quilting retreats, I've joined guilds, and taken lessons. Hook, line, and sinker, I've joined the cult. And the ladies tease me frequently about this. Thank you, Dory. Most of us can relate to that story very well. Okay, next up we have Kristen. And oh, yeah. Some of these I have read first and some of them I've saved them. This was one I had a few moments, and so I've read this one already. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. Hi, my name is Kristen Liska, and my funny craft story involves diamond painting and the dreaded dropped tray of drills, or diamonds. I had been diamond painting for quite some time at this point, a couple of years, without a major spilled tray of drills, but this day was just not going to be my day. So I'm diamond painting with a color that needed quite a lot of drills, so I was being quite confident in my skills of not spilling a tray. So I filled my tray quite full with the color in question and went to work. Well, I felt what I thought was a creepy crawly on my arm. And my arm went on its way and the tray and drills went another, only to find out it was just a stray hair. So then comes the cleanup. A half hour later, I'm back to placing drills to canvas. A half an hour of picking up. After working for a while, I lay my tray down on a flat surface to get a drink, and what do I do when I come back to pick up the tray? My finger catches the spout on the tray and my drills go flying all over my end table. Really? Twice in one day. This time it takes much longer to clean them up because now I have to move the end table. But I do find as many drills as I can and go back to my canvas. A bit tired and frustrated, but I go back to what I love to do. Working along for about maybe 15 minutes, dirt, dust, fuzz, and hair in the tray with my drills. Now I'm spending as much time picking trash out of the tray as I am putting drills on the canvas at this point. As I'm trying very hard to get an elusive piece of fuzz out of my tray, doesn't the tray flip up out of my hands through the air, throwing drills all over my living room at this point. And all I can say is, you've got to be kidding me. 3 times was not the charm for me that day. I'm so sorry. I can totally imagine that happening. I'm so sorry, but that was really funny. Okay, this next one is from Janet. Let's see. Janet says, oh, isn't this an oldest whip contest? Of course, I know it's not. It's a funny crafty story contest. I felt bad that you weren't receiving any stories. That's right, because originally when I first posted about this, I didn't have anyone who was brave enough to send me a story. And then when I said that, lots of you were brave and wrote me these funny stories. And so thank you, much appreciated. So I decided to send you a story. So here's my story. Fair warning, it's really not a funny story. Perhaps mildly amusing, but perhaps not. Well, we like mildly amusing as well. I've started this cross stitch in 1989, approximately. It was to be a Christmas present for my sister-in-law who loves cats. It is fairly common for me to not finish things on time. Also something that many of us can relate to. When I realized I wasn't going to finish this in time for Christmas, I put it away and purchased a different Christmas present for my sister-in-law. Time goes by and several moves later, this little kitty cat cross stitch has lived in the cupboard under the stairs for many years. To be clear, this is not the same cupboard Harry Potter lived in. I have no wizards stored in the cupboard under my stairs, or anywhere in my house for that matter. I have recently started cross-stitching again after a 25-year hiatus. There's no reason to do things halfway. When I take a hiatus, I take a hiatus. 25 years. Well done. Well done for coming back, and welcome back. One of the reasons this cross-stitch was taking too long and didn't get finished in time for Christmas was because I'd made a mistake and needed to fix it. There are, for the most part, only 3 things I procrastinate on, and those are cleaning house, washing dishes, and frogging cross stitch. Oh, and frogging knitting. And oh yes, frogging crochet. I'm counting all frogging as one thing. Since I now have absolutely no idea where the mistake was made, although I do remember not fixing it, I'm just going to move forward as though nothing is wrong. After it's finished, if someone has such deplorable manners that when they see the mistake they feel a need to comment, well, they can add that comment to their other comments they undoubtedly made about my messy house. I consider it happily, comfortably cluttered and unwashed dishes. Happy crafting, and I really think you should have an oldest whip contest. I think that's a great idea. Oldest whip contest. Now, Janet has included I did tell you her name before I started this, didn't I? Or did I just go right into it? I'm sure I did, but in case I didn't, this was from Janet. And Janet has included a photo here of her oldest whip, kitty cat. And so I'm gonna pop that photo in right here. I know, it's a huge mug. It's one of those venti Starbucks mugs. John gave it to me for Christmas. I usually try to only have one of those sized cups per day. That may be my second one today, but shh, don't tell. Okay, I've got enough time to do a couple more here, and then I have to go and see a lady about some floss. So let's see what we've got. Next up, we have from Beth. Okay, this next one is from Beth. Beth says, my story is not so much funny, but a bit of a David and Goliath story. This story is about my next 2 cross-stitch projects. The first start will be your Christmas mitten pattern. That's the one that you would always see behind me on when I was sitting on the other side of the room, that huge mitten pattern. On 40 count 1/1 with DMC and a finished size of 1 7/8 inch by 2 1/4 inch. I love that. I love that. That's so tiny. I will be stitching 4 mittens with 2 of them mirrored. When the fronts and backs are sewn together with a cord. That's so cool. That is so cool. I love that idea. They will look like a pair of very tiny kids' mittens. That's an adorable idea. So stitching 4 mitts with 2 of them mirrored. When the fronts and backs are sewn together with a cord, they will look like a pair of very tiny kids' mitts. What a great idea. The second start will be the number 172 Rune sampler pattern from the Stitcher Hood in Athens, Ohio. The Rune sampler will be stitched on 12 count 2/2 with a finished size of 28 inches and 31 by 31 inches. I will be using lace weight wool yarn instead of DMC. The following pictures show the 2 fabrics that I will be using for the projects. Beth, who is knitting by the lake on Ravelry. Beth, that is phenomenal. I love the difference. I love the huge difference between these 2 projects. I think that's amazing. And I definitely want to see update photos on both of those. I think those are incredible. That's so cool. Thank you for sending that. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, next we have Christina. Okay, so Christina says, I have a number of friends that stitch together. We have been to several retreats together and can be found stitching at all hours of the day and night. Aren't those the best? Those are the best. I miss that so much. There are only a few things that I miss during the last year, and boy howdy, that has got to be the biggest one. That, and you know, seeing your friends and family, of course, but you know, those late nights at a stitching retreat where you're chatting with your people, I miss that. Okay, so continuing on with Christina's story that I've completely hijacked here. She says, one of my friends falls asleep easily, and it is not unusual to notice that she is dozing while we are stitching. However, it was unusual one day to note that even though she seemed to be stitching, her hand was moving up and down over her project. She was in fact asleep. Can you imagine? Oh, poor thing. That's really funny. We sat and watched her for a minute before we realized we should be filming this. That's just mean. Before we could bring the cameras out, she woke up, probably because we stopped talking. Thus, we do not have video proof of her ability to stitch while sleeping. Oh, I hope this story qualifies as an amusing story. I thought it was funny, but I am easily amused. Well, Chris, I am also easily amused. I really liked your story. That was great. Okay, let's do one more. Okay, one more, and then I'll try to do another funny stories episode. Maybe I'll do a short video on Saturday this weekend. We'll see, because I do have a fair number more to share with you. All right, so last one for today is from Sylvia, and Sylvia says, okay, I'm not sure if this is what you would consider funny. Well, none of you seem to think these stories are funny. They're all funny in a certain way, aren't they? And I think they all totally count. So don't be afraid to send in a story that maybe you don't think is funny. They're great stories. I love the stories. So send them in. Caroline@evertote.com if you'd like to send me your story, by the way. Okay, so continuing on with Sylvia's story here. It was one of those times when I had to laugh to keep from crying. I know that feeling well too. I decided to stitch the chart, The Virtuous Woman from Proverbs 31. I started at the top left and stitched happily away until I got to just about 3 inches from the bottom. This chart was about 14 inches long. I had stitched everything except the last 3 inches or so when I realized I only had about 2 inches of fabric left. Oh, doesn't your heart just break just a little bit? Oh my goodness. Okay, which meant I couldn't even finish the design, much less have any left for framing. I was so irritated with myself, but I decided that God was trying to teach me something, so I decided that I had to do it again. This time I did it correctly. I really wanted to have it in my home to remind myself of what I was striving to be. That is an excellent lesson. Then I told my Sunday school class about this. It was biblical after all. They wanted to have the design to go in the classroom. So once again, I had to learn a lesson. I gave away my hard-learned lesson. So now I have learned 2 lessons from my stitching. One is that I should always measure and cut more carefully. Then there was the second of being more unselfish. Many people told me that they would have just pretended that the chart had ended at a point where I could have it framed and not wasted all that time and material. But I really felt like I needed to learn something. I promise I've never made that mistake again. I can bet you haven't. Oh dear, Sylvia. Oh, that's a little heartbreaking. But I think the reason I love stories like this is because it's so easy in the online community to feel like everyone else's work or stitching is bigger or harder or better than ours. And you know, especially when you're new and you're just starting out as a new cross stitcher and you make mistakes that, I mean, this is a big mistake from clearly a stitcher who's been working for a long time. And I think it's really a great thing to share that no matter how long you've been stitching, we all make these mistakes. And so it doesn't matter how new you are, how old, how long you've been stitching, these kinds of things happen. And you know, it's nice to feel some solidarity with others who've been in the same boat. So Sylvia, thanks for sharing that. That was great. Okay, the sun is shining. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? I get to go for a little car ride and the sun is shining. So I think I may drive a little bit more slowly to my destination today, just so that I can enjoy a little bit of time outside in the sun. Even though I'll be in the car, it's still different than being in my house when it's sunny outside. And then I'll take Luna for a walk later today. I'm hoping that this keeps up. The sky looks pretty blue outside, so maybe I'll take a little video clip outside so that you can see. Super pretty. We had a little bit of a fresh dusting of snow last night, so everything is just a little bit clean and fresh and new, and the sky is blue. I can't tell you, January must have been, the end of December, it must have been the grayest 6 weeks that I can remember in ages. Maybe I'm just not, maybe I wasn't paying attention before, but it just felt like the last couple of times where we've been able to get outside and the sun has been shining, it has felt like different. It's felt really so nice when you get outside and the sun is shining and you just can take a deep breath and think, oh, finally, it's not gray out here. So that's been really, really nice. So that's what I'm up to. I'm going for a car ride, and I think maybe tomorrow I'll have a couple of huge skeins of purple floss that maybe I can give you a sneak peek tomorrow. Okay, so that's it for me today. I hope that you're well. I hope that you're safe and that you've got some crafting time of your very own to do something fun just for yourself. And I'll see you tomorrow. So take care. Happy stitching.